Hi, welcome back to the Dylan Rounds case. Welcome if you're currently here in the live chat. I appreciate it. Today, the blanket is off, okay? Kind of like with the gloves are off. We're going to be talking about the drama which supposedly happened last night in the chat. So disruptive that it's left a bad taste in people's mouths, that it may have put people off communicating, and it's all imploded in on itself. In my mind, it's all under control, okay? What I will say, just being realistic and straight to the point, yes, all kinds of text, all kinds of arguments going on. Do I see that as distracting myself personally? No. What is distracting is the waves and the apocalypse of the punchy. I mean, you can't get away from it. You're drowning, okay? That's just being realistic. But yeah, what I want to say first of all, okay, aside from all that, but it did time with last night. Shout out to the people in the background with the alternative super chats. Very good of them to do that. Okay, I say it in like a silent shout out. Just respect people's privacy and stuff. Okay, but yeah, today we're talking about the drama. We're gonna clear it up. If it's not cleared after that, then tough shit. Okay. One talks, one explains, one clears it up. Simple as, okay? And if you want to listen, you listen. And if not, then unfortunate. We're also going to be taking a look at Candice Cooley. Been some kind of confirmation, supposedly speaking. Just have a look at that visually. A post as well as on Facebook, just to measure it up as well. There's keys in that. And if there's time, we look at the map. And if not, we look at the forum, whichever one, depends how deep this video goes, okay? Also, Mr. X, once again, whining, complaining in the back on Shack Lady's stream or something. We'll get to that shortly. But yeah, let's talk about the drama first of all. So, hopefully you're listening right now. Make sure you're locked in, right? Just like how I am. When it comes to drama to begin with, it happens any place, anywhere, anytime, with anyone, in real life, online. It doesn't matter. You can't run away from it. You can't escape it. You can't stop it. That's it. Okay? I could say bye, see you next time in the next video. It'd be a complete disaster now, wouldn't it? But no, that's being realistic, okay? It's not about being delusionally positive. It's not about being completely negative and lost. It's just about straight to the point, straight to the tip, okay? That's how it is. Can you suppress it? Can you silence it? Yes. But what do you think happens? It just makes it more intensified down the line. You know, you think about all in real life situations, this going on here, that going on there, they're being silenced. It only encourages them to find new ways, right? And that's for both positive and negative reasons and causes, okay? Same can happen on YouTube. I'm not going to self-sabotage my channel to silence certain people so other people are all comfortable, okay? That might seem rude, but first of all, tough shit. Second of all, there is an alternative method, okay? So hopefully you are listening right now. If not, or you join late, anyone in the chat right now, direct the people to this point, okay? So I've said it once, I'll say it twice, okay? Just like with the whips. Okay? Third more time? I don't know. But we might even encounter the comment in the comment section when we look at the comments later on. I can re-answer it, whatever. But some people, whether it be last night, now, or in the past, going on saying, you know, you got to get rid of these people. You got to block these people. It's ruining the chat. It's ruining the experience for everyone else. I can kind of understand that. But there's a big contrast. There's a big contrast to what's happening here and then what was happening to the medieval game of Mordhau in 2019, where you had people using the N-word left, right, and centre. It was just like messing around and stuff. Obviously, do-gooders and people getting really obsessive and offended, whinged and whined, and they didn't have an alternative to block the stuff out. The developers were forced to implement some censoring feature in some way, so people got what they want, okay? Here, if you don't like a person, if you are having drama with a couple of people, okay, you can manually block them, okay? Does that make sense? If you block someone, then you will never see their comments ever again on those videos or in the live chat. It's done. Unless they create a new account and then you've got to block them again. But what do you think happens like if someone like me blocks someone? They could create a new account. So you can't stop it, but you can ease it down, right? First of all, you got to ask yourself, what's the difference between me blocking someone in the chat and you blocking someone in the chat? Well, I can explain. Hopefully you are listening right now. If you block a person in the live chat or just in general on my channel, you will no longer see their comments. They will just not show up. It's like they've disappeared, vanished, okay? Right? But everyone else, including me, will be able to see that user you have blocked, right? Now, if I blocked someone in the chat, it would mean I would not see their comments ever again, and everyone else in the chat would not see that person ever again until they make a new account. Okay, does that make sense? Now, when people advise me to start going around silencing people, do you think that's honestly a practical move? Both as for the case and the community and the stability or lack of stability in that, and then also my own channel and natural growth, or you could say organic if you want to be fancy with words, okay? It wouldn't go well, right? There's been a couple of people that have come in to the chat, whether it be last night or times in the past, been a bit of trouble, bit of drama, right? Whether it be mini-me having an argument with someone or someone starting it and attacking mini-me when she's not done anything wrong, when Stoney's been called out by Ty Corbyn, but then other times Ty Corbyn might be calling out another person elsewhere. It's very back and forth, okay? It's not just all one-sided, all one person is to blame. It's like a pinball machine. It just bounces all around, right? When in contact with several people. The thing is, there isn't a high level of frequency when it comes to this level of drama because it's not all the time. But when it does happen, I guess it's intensified, right? That's what you got to understand. That's the first thing you got to acknowledge, right? It's not all the time, right? You look back to a fair few of my videos, it could be about 30 people watching, 20 people watching, 11 people watching, pushing it 50, right? And most of those times, there's little drama. The moment it goes over 60 people watching or 70 people watching, which is very rare, but it can happen, and it happened last night, that's when the drama occurs. The extra 10 people that come on in. Is it of a particular group? Who knows? Is it particular people each time? No, I think it's randomized, right? The second factor you got to take in mind is it depends if there are other channels, live streams occurring at the time. There has been in the past, hence why there's not been as much drama here, but there has elsewhere, right? You've seen it in the Shack Ladies live streams back in the past. You've seen it on maybe Pancake's channel in the past, which then resulted in, I guess, members only content and all that to try and ease it out, right? When you start easing it all out, then there might come here where it's not as restrictive. That's a factor. But then other times, when those channels, when those live streams are not doing anything in between, or they have just finished for the night or for the day, whatever time zone it is, all the people come on over to the next thing that's going. It's like second best, the scraps. They might not want to come here. They've got better places to be, but because those things have ended, it's like, oh, let's just come here, just see what's being said and whatnot. And then that's where the friction begins, right? You could have mini-me in the live stream, live premiere, live chat with a couple of the regulars. Not much happens, not much goes too wrong. Another time, you might get Ty Corbyn that comes in. it's quite calm. Everyone's saying, thank you for being here. Thank you for confirming this tie. And then it's like, take care, bye. And then he's out, and then that's it, okay? And then other times you get Stoney coming in, a bit more frequent now, which is good of her. Not too much going on, bit of messing around stuff, right? And then another time you get the Shack Lady coming on it, right? And she's okay. She comes in late, but she doesn't cause any trouble, right? And then obviously more people as well, who I can't think of on the spot, right? When they're separated from one another or in small groups, not much happens. But when they're paired together, when opposites come in close contact, that's where the friction begins, right? And that can happen on any channel. It's just down to the right place at the right time, or in other people's minds, the wrong place at the wrong time. There's no other channels going on. There's no other live stream, so everyone all gathers here. And obviously, the higher the viewers, the higher the numbers, the more chances of some drama occurring somehow, somewhere, right? It's just what happens. It's like, if you let so many people into the UK, which obviously is happening, it's like, if you let more and more and more and more people come in, there's going to be a higher chance that there'll be some form of terrorism at some point, at some time, right? It's common sense, and it can apply to many other cases, just like it applies here. The more people that watch, the more people that come on over, the chances of tension, resistance, negativity rises with the positives, right? As one thing goes up, the other one does as well. Sometimes there's an imbalance, right? When the numbers are down here, which is low and negative, the positivity is more up here because there's less tension. It's more consistent, more frequent, long-time viewers watching, which is good of them on my channel. And then when it comes back up the views, when like maybe, well, you can't use the word rejects, but like when other people come on in, just casually, randomly, once in a while, check up because there's nothing else going at the time. Yeah, the views go up, but then this positivity might start sinking a little bit, right? Very simple. I'm sure some people will understand, but it's just got to be worded once again. Now, if we return back to that main point of, well, during those times of resistance or conflict, why not suppress it? Not a good idea. Like, if I do it, it's only going to cause the problem what that person is having with that other person. I'm then going to become part of the problem too. What humans are indirectly doing, aside from trying to harm my channel and somewhat credibility of it, humans, some are indirectly, not purposely, by accident, technically dragging me into whatever conflict problem they're having, right? There have been quite a few times where you've seen it where people have been called out or criticised and it's kind of bad and rough. And then when I come around or when I say, oh, hi, and that person who might be being negative towards someone else, they're nice to me or neutral to me. And I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of odd. So it's like, if they're not causing me problems, then why do I have to block them? If I start blocking them, then they're going to have problems with me then. So the person that told me to block them, their problems will also become my problems as well. No, that's not practical. That's not going to happen. If you have your own issues with people, you can either sort it out or you just block them. And then what does that mean? It's a positive. You no longer have to put up with the drama. You can relax, you can listen to the video, or you can carry on talking with the other people in the chat, right? And in addition, there's no like further tension caused because the other people that might get on well with that one individual that might have a problem with the other person, we can still communicate with. So it just eases it, right? And I have mentioned it before, but I guess people that come in late or people that are just new to the video or something for some reason, they probably failed to pick up on it. And, you know, other times humans are impetuous as well, so they probably need things telling to them 2 times over, or if not more, right? And maybe there'll be like a little bit of talk of this in the comment section when we take a look at it. But as I said, in summary, at the end of the day, when you get drama, it happens any place, anytime, anywhere. You can't stop it. You can ease it, but the right people have to ease it, because if not, it'll just intensify it. And in this case, with YouTube, with the chat, considering it's not all the time, and it's not frequent, right? And it's just down to friction and tension of wrong place, wrong time with too many people all in one space, which technically isn't a problem for me. Like, I can't complain. It's good that people watch. But in those individual viewers' mindsets, action needs to be taken, and they have the opportunity to do it. Act on it. It's not that difficult, okay? And this is the next thing. We've seen it to a small degree. You get these interviews, you get these live streams, these call-in panels, and then further drama and further tension is caused all of a sudden. You see people getting hysterical. You see it just breaking out of control. Oh, why did you block me? Oh, do you have an issue with me? Oh, why are you trying to silence me? Oh, why is this person taking control of this? Oh, why has that person become a mod and with a wrench and then they're trying to silence me? Oh, I don't like your channel. Oh, I don't like you, the owner, because you've just put this person in charge and now they're taking over and becoming power hungry, so it's going to damage your credibility and make you look like a tosser. And it's like, that's what happens when you start acting on it as a channel owner. You self-destruct, self-sabotage. That's not going to happen here, okay? And there's any additional tension, okay? And this is the thing, this might be used a couple of times tonight, right? As in general, when it comes to all these people individually, right, okay? I can't think of everyone on the spot, as I said. You got people criticising Linda Cushing because she uses the rat emoji, but that's just messing about, that's just playing around, that's just simply saying, oh, that person isn't literally a rat, but a little bit of resistance, a little bit of a whiner, a complainer, right? Just like messing about. As for Linda, how she is towards me, she's not caused any problems or any issues. In terms of Linda's behaviour or personality, she's got a high level of resistance slash a good sense of humour, right? Because like I can keep saying that she's an alcoholic or something, but she's not going to show resistance. So that shows that she has got a good level of control and as well sense of humour, right? As for Stoney, there's been all kinds of people going at her, and then also people accusing, saying she's been going at them. I mean, I don't look too deep into it, of course, but how Stoney is with me, she's okay, she's fine, she's a good person. She messes around too, which is fine, it's good. As for Joseph, I don't think really anyone has a problem with Joseph, but, you know, people can just like pop in and start saying this or saying that. Sometimes Joseph has said that he feels like he's complaining or he's alienating himself or maybe certain people, but I wouldn't say he is. Sometimes you might think he's being a bit too aggressive or a bit too negative or something. Not really. It's just Joseph getting his point across. He's not causing any problems, so Joseph is a good individual. As for Mini-Me, being described as a salty pancakes minion, Mickey Mouse, this and that, I don't know. I've not had any negative run-ins with her or them, whoever they are, so I haven't really got an issue with them. As for Ty Corbyn, there's been times of resistance, there's been times of misunderstandings, but they get cleared up very quickly, and then it's resolved, and then you move on to the next thing or the next problem, and then that's resolved, right? Now, I could keep on going, but that'll go on too long. As you see, what I've said, I've not really said anything too negative about anyone because it's based off my experiences and encounters with them. It's not been that bad, right? But in the eyes of other people, it may have been bad for whatever reason, okay? So it's like the situation of if you were having a conflict with someone and then someone passed a gun to me and said, right, shoot them. And it's like, why do I need to shoot them? You know, they've not come attacking me, they're not harming me, so why should I do that? Why should I endanger myself or put myself in a worse off situation, right? And once again, we'll just refer to it once again because of repetition, it's important, right? I think repetition is definitely needed in this case, in this community, so it's drilled into people's heads, right? If you have a problem with someone, YouTube does have the tools to enable you to block those people yourself, right? So It's not the end of the world. It can be fixed. It can be resolved. It's all under control, and you have that control if you wish to use it. So very simple, very straight to the point. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you. As for any other drama, I'll think of in between, but what we need to get onto next briefly is about Mr. X. Once again, he's popped up in a way, complaining, of course. Is there a main cause? Is there a main factor? It's probably just down to not being allowed, not being able to appear on this channel, right? I mean, technically, Mr. X has made a few appearances on the channel, so be grateful at least, right? You know, okay, he's been tripping over a few tree stumps, walking into the odd tree, getting mixed up with a ragdoll as a woman when it turned out to be a man, when the wig came off. I'm not talking about Betty Hayward, I'm talking about that ragdoll. I mean, there's been a few appearances, it's better than nothing, right? You've got to be positive, right? In times like this, tough times, you've got to really find and dig deep in hope. My God. But yeah, it was Shack Lady's live stream last night. I think it might have been shorter than expected or so. I didn't really look at it. I just looked at the first part briefly. Mr. X just popped in randomly. I think he was complaining, saying, oh, why are you doing a live stream when we're trying to do some kind of awareness thing for some other channel and let them grow, okay? And this is where we first kick in, first of all, completely unrelated, but I'll add it in. Whilst you've got these little bitch boy gangs, whilst you've got these little fundraisers or these little impromptu charities or some kind of Give-A-Wish foundation, let's grow this channel, it's like, hold on, not exactly natural, is it? You might have some people paying for advertisement, you might have some people trying to rally around the troops, which, first of all, by human nature, is a positive, good thing of them. So whether it be Mr. X, Jim Terry, or someone else, it's good of them to raise awareness of a channel to help them grow. When it comes to pancakes with some of the channels he's spread awareness to, it's good of him to do that. Yes, it's a positive action by humans, but is it truly a natural one? No, right? People that come here, it's down to because they naturally want to. When it comes to super chats or dodgy stuff like that, it happens because people want to or feel there's a need to, or like in a positive way, some kind of support system or whatever you want to call it, right? In some ways people call it donations, but that just sounds a bit like prostitution, right? But basically at the end of the day, people will either watch this or do that or listen to this or maybe leave a comment in the chat or in the comment section because they want to. No one's forced to. That's the key thing here. No one's forced to here. If you want to, it's much appreciated. If you don't, fine, okay? When it comes to the comment section, the chat, if you want to chat, you can. If you don't, that's fine. If you want to be in the background, that's okay, right? That's just how it is. If people want to take a break from the chat, which some people have done in recent time, right? Then they can, and then if they want to pop back in, they can as well. There's some people that have said that don't really participate anymore, but still always watch the videos or at least catch up on them. So that's good of them. Clearly shows that they want to be here, but also they're still interested in the case despite everything that's going on in the background. They're still trying to find time. They're still making effort, conscious decision to listen in, right? That is key considering the mess of what's gone down. So what you could say and what you could argue, whilst people might say, oh, all this drama here and there, all of a sudden, like on this channel, is driving people away, it might be when you think visually, because they're not appearing in the chat or the comment section, but from what I've heard back of people, they're still around, they're still watching or they're catching up on the stuff, but they just want to be away from the drama. So it shows human behaviour finding alternative ways to still watch along, etc. Despite all the other negative stuff that's happened in the background. Whereas if you compare it to maybe other channels and other live streams where you might not be able to get away from it whatsoever, you can't escape from it because it's a live stream, a panel, having to listen to someone you might not like, having to see a guest that appears on that show because you don't like them. You can't get away from that. You can't block them. You can't mute them. You're not in control. You just have to sit there and listen to it. Whereas here, providing you don't have an issue with me, you can sit and listen or just watch, whichever, or both. And then if the chat, the side piece, which is the issue, you can easily dismiss that. You can cover it up on the screen. You can enlarge the video so it's just showing me, and then the chat is off there. So you can get away from that, but you can't get away from a direct live stream interview panel thing. And that's why you hear about some people moving away, not even bothering anymore, right? Talk about the outsiders that may come here not quite fully informed, saying, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do... No, hold on. It was okay for a fair bit of time. It only goes wrong once in a while because one, higher numbers of people, more than usual, and two, which can also tie in, some of those people that come on in aren't normally around. And when they do just suddenly show up, then there's tension. So you could also add that in as an observation as well. Just saying, okay? So as well, with their frequency not being there, there's no need to really act on it too much, right? Unless it was like every single day, day in, day out, wearing, grinding, tearing you down, then maybe you take action in some way, right? You just put it all into proportion, right? But yeah, apologies if the flow isn't quite there. What I have found, okay, if I was a little bit pissed off for whatever reason, it's normally indirect. The flow might be a little bit more, harder, right? But I guess a slower tone, right, is also useful. It gets ploughed into people's minds so they can understand. Whilst some criticisms might be aimed in a way towards me that this video is a bit too dragged out, this video is a bit too long. There's two reasons to that. And there's one reason to counter the criticism, that some things might be talked about in depth, might be a bit longer than expected or a bit longer than what it should be, but at least I'm only looking at a small grouping of stuff or a singular topic or subject instead of talking about a load of things in short, because this is where the problem is. You could talk about 20 different important things in a 5-minute video, but it's so crammed with a lot of data or a lot of information about how the hell do you process that in a short space of time? It can cause more problems than good, right? What's better for some people is a longer video, but just looking at a couple of things, right? Does that make sense? I guess the only way you can get away with talking about a range of different stuff and not too deep, but for the video to still be fairly long because a range of stuff is talked about, would obviously be like the interviews with No Thanks with Candice Cooley, right? But that's a completely different style of coverage. That's interview based, right? So you can look at a range of stuff because you're getting answers on the spot. The questions are somewhat short, the answers are somewhat short. So you get like a positive trade-off. Whereas if it's more of a discussion-based video, more open for interpretation and talking about stuff like that, talk about a load of things can also lead to a video being very long and hard to follow. Whereas if you only talk about a couple of things for the same length, there's a little bit more stability, okay? But yeah, let's return back to that Mr. X situation, okay? So, Chat Lady, I guess, refers to my name, username on YouTube. And the moment the Chat Lady is just about to breathe or speak again, Mr. X jumps in and says, oh no, I don't like that person. No, he's not doing good. It's like, oh, here we go again. What I will say with Mr. X, even though you can't see his face, like when I visualize his presence, which is underwhelming, visualize his appearance, which is a little bit cowardly, when I get like an overall like just understanding of it, it's like, wow, one of the most whiniest people I have come across, with a screeching American tone of voice, worse than Bella V. That's saying something. The tone, the pace of a giraffe being chased by a cheetah. It just doesn't quite work. No, it just doesn't quite work. You know, I'm a bit of a mind camp at the moment. What the hell's going on? Like, whine. All I would say is Mr. X is more whiny than a bag of wine gums, okay? It's just yap, it's like a little dog. Calm down. Sorry, I don't have any doggy treats. Wes has got a bone. I'm sure he can throw you one. Just calm down, okay? But as I said, main reason why he's having a bit of a tantrum, okay, throwing the toys out the pram, or whatever he throws out the pram, is because he can't get what he wants. Jim Terry can't get what he wants. And obviously, if they're driven, they're all about growth, they're all about success, they're all about takeovers, okay? NFL takeover, indoor arena soccer takeover, winning, scores, numbers. The numbers don't lie, the numbers add up, whether it be personal growth of a channel, personal growth, numbers, statistics of a season in sports, a career, whatever. They get what they want, they do what they do, they're successful, but they can't have what they want this time. And psychologically, that can really penetrate deep into a person's mind, especially if it's down to evolutionary competitiveness, as we've discussed within the Dylan Brown's case. People lock on, people are focused, people are driven, and if there are obstacles or barriers, they will overcome them or try to. Sometimes it might even encourage them, it might harden them, strengthen them. It'll add a built-up resilience, some kind of motivation, burning more than ever, a deep passion for whatever they're doing, right? Just like if I was forced or acknowledged to block someone in the chat for no reason, or just randomly, it would encourage them as a sign of, oh, must be onto something. Oh, let's keep on going. And it pushes them more to keep on doing whatever they're doing, right? So it's like with her, they can't get what they want, so they whinge about it, complain. And as well, got to think about styles as well. What some humans are failing to understand, right? And this is where we tie in with what Mr. X had to say roughly. Mr. X was saying that my videos or my format, how I do things, it's got no flavour. I mean, that's one of the most impetuous lines I have heard. If you look at my videos, we have visited ice cream parlours. We have visited bars, restaurants, Burger Kings, Little Caesars, the Sonic place, maybe Taco Bell, maybe Wendy's, okay, and many more, and the motels as well. We've looked at a lot of food. It's led to people in the chat feeling tormented because they want that food, right? Some people have said that they feel really hungry after watching my videos, okay? That aside, the back photos as well. Can't help it. But you get the idea. You get the flow. Simply looking at a food-related topic, visual senses, visual cues, okay? Short-term, long-term memory triggers. It's led to people reacting in a positive way slightly. Oh, I'm really hungry. Oh, yeah. So technically, when Mr. X says I'm lacking flavour, I'm the one serving the flavours, excuse me, okay? And as well, one question I would like to ask, and no, this is not a direct interview question, but I'm sure you can reply back if you wish, whether it be telepathically, because I'm sure telepathically I'll hear the whining in my head when I go to sleep and I can hear people communicating with me, of course. But let me tell you something, okay? So, Mr. X, Mr. Dodgy Hat, Mr. Man in Black, whatever you want to be called, okay? Do you have a whip? Yes or no? Do you have a high resistance whip? Yes or no? Do you have an XL long black whip? Yes or no? Did you say no? Well, that's disappointing. So maybe you are lacking flavour. In other words, you're lacking spice in your life. Very simple as. We don't just stop there. I think I'm the only one in the community that has a giant banana, right? I've not seen anyone else pull a giant banana out, okay? Yeah. I think I'm the only one that has a personal representative mascot of salty pancakes in the community. There you go, SpongeBob Soggy Pants. Does anyone else have him? Not from what I've seen of. And to that size and scale, right? It's almost the same scale as Pancakes himself. I mean, it's out of this world. And obviously there are many more bits and bobs elsewhere, don't you worry. I mean, people are saying, the wardrobes. Yeah, the wardrobes. What are in them? You don't need to know, okay? What I'm saying is, there are these items, these tools. You think about it, whether it be these hands, okay? These hands, which are used to operate with, when it comes to solving a case, making sense of a mystery, cleansing, clearing up people, or other things in between. Hands are like tools which can help construct something, make sense of something. Tools like this can be used in humour, but also to bring order, okay? And other bits and bobs in between. And if they're lacking, right, come up a little bit short. I mean, you know, with Mr. X saying, like, measuring at 9 inches, I mean, I don't think your whip's 9 inches. You don't even have a whip to stand on because you don't have one. You know, is that going to be incorporated at some point? Maybe. And as for the key thing, right, lacking this, lacking that, I think I'm the only person in the Dylan Rouse community to be able to do 14 different accents from around the world, as well as animal sounds as well as direct impressions of certain people within the case and community, people who I've never met in real life, and yet I can somehow mimic their either voice or body language, you know, Bella V. Well, I'm Bella V, my voice is a little bit messed up. Okay, Pancakes as well at times. Yeah, it's me, Pancakes, you know, I don't know what's going on. This is just unbelievable, man. I feel like I'm Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I really need to fix my nose, okay? Betty Haywood as well. More facial expressions, even appearance as well. I mean, arguably speaking, I looked more like Betty Haywood than Betty Haywood did, right? There's been times, just in general, out of context, I have sounded more African than an African person does, right? It's like, how's that happening? We've done the Brookie pose, facial expressions, almost like a one-to-one accuracy. Done Gorilla Jack as well. Not seen anyone else do a Gorilla Jack voice or impression like that. Hello, my name's Gorilla Jack. Okay? I've got a little short video as well where a bit more effort was put into that one in terms of the voice, right? And, oh my God, when Mr. X did the impression of Betty Haywood, oh my God. Don't do that again. Shit. Okay? I'm joking, but yeah, some impressions you just don't do. Like, quite a lot of them, what I've done, like these more direct ones, it's been more on the spot, right? So sometimes there's a bit of evolution to it. It starts off a bit shit and then it improves a little bit. Some have been nailed on the head immediately. But yeah, when some of the people that claim, oh, they're better this and that, and then they try, it's like, whoa, hold off, okay? And as well, what we're tying next kind of counters his point, but it also explains the situation and the style, right? So you got these live streams, you got these interviews, they do what they do, right? Whether it yields results or not, yes, no, it happens, right? And you got my videos, okay? My style, completely different, complements one another, or there might be a contrast, but that contrast could have a split, a divide, and as I said, 8 to 9 times out of 10, that resistance, what we were talking about, may branch over to the other side because they're more interested in that. And when that's not available, they come over here just to deal with it. And then that leads to the tension with the pre-existing people and then these new people coming over, right? So there's a full circle with all this stuff and it all seems to tie in with a line. But if you have everyone doing the same thing, is that really practical? If you had everyone searching in the same location, if it was a boots on ground operation, is that really effective, impactful? No. You need to spread out, right? Okay, when it comes to the military, you have people boots on ground going through hell, going through war, being torn apart, okay, all explosions going around. And then you get other people that might sit behind a computer screen, some kind of map, headquarters, mapping it all out, saying this is what happens next, creating these orders, sending these orders out. You got some people that might be behind some kind of like remote controlled drone. It's a very important operation. It needs the accuracy, it needs the ability and, you know, all the skills, of course. But clearly, as you see, you've got boots on ground, and then you've got behind the scenes operations, and both can, you know, help one another in some way. That's exactly how it is here, right? Some are boots on ground, some are maps aerial, whether that be due to distance, whether it be due to practical reasons, whether it be due to just simply stylage and coverage, right? You look at Black Dove, the stuff he says or the stuff he researches, he does what he does because that's what he does. That's his speciality, right? If you start putting people who in a situation where it's not their speciality, they're going to underperform, and it's like, well, that's not good, right? You want to bring out the best in people, you put them in the right roles, the right zones, and fit in, less tension, less gear grinding, and just driving on, right? Straight to the point, okay? And as well, when it came to the maps videos and bits and bobs like that, did I just suddenly decide to randomly do it and think, oh, let's give it a try? No. Because we've done the Candice M Cave case for over 2 years. That was my style. That was my method. And it was successful. It brought in the right people. It led to additional information which no one really, in terms of the general public, would ever have heard of, right? Like, if I didn't cover that case that relentlessly, then some of those people wouldn't have reached out. And it applies to someone like Sean Horlacker as well. If Sean didn't do what he did and someone else as well, then that one individual wouldn't have come out and said this and said that and gave the information, right? So these people on YouTube keeping the Kenny Veach case alive at the time never did what they did. And it was just down to random big YouTubers just regurgitating the same old story, and that's it. The case would technically die out. There wouldn't be really any progression, and it would just remain completely dead in the ground, right? So there was a style to that, and I incorporated the same style into the Dylan Rounds case, because what you've got to understand, when you move into a new case, a new community, a new mystery, it takes some time to get an understanding of where things are at. And on top of that, if you've got a YouTube channel which covers it, you got to transition quick, right? To be efficient, to be effective, you got to transition quick. You got to learn it on the spot, right? Different if you just casually breeze and look at this, listen to that, and then, oh, I might just move on to the next one, or spend a couple of weeks or a month trying to understand it. No, it's not quite like that, at least in my mindset when it comes to the YouTube coverage. It's boom, move on to the next one, boom, move on to the next one. It's so rapid, back to back, that you got to make sure that the accuracy is there, right? First of all, so there's a little bit of pressure with that. You also got to make sure that there's a little bit of balance to begin with, somewhat relevant too, right? Because you might be late to something. If you're joining at the time it's happening, you're in a good spot, but that's never happened with me, right? And people could say, well, why not just move on to the next hottest thing suddenly starting off? And it's like, well, yeah, I could do that, but I'm not exactly making it easy on myself, but tough shit, that's just me, self-inflicted. But if I've found something where there's some form of stability and there's been enough coverage and material, the least I can do is stick with it for as long as I can and keep it alive for as long as I can. That's the way I say it. If I'm able to find a case or some mystery, let's not just isolate it, because another big thing is I was covering a mystery. I've moved into a true crime case. There's a big difference, right? Different structure, different way of looking at it, different questions asked and looking for answers. But as for the maps, consistency there, partially because you can map out routes, but also because of the same terrain, desert based, right? So in terms of the operational organizational skills development and analysis, that followed over, the consistency there. Also did that because that's what I know how to do, and it seems to work better for me, so I might as well keep that going. Once again, there's no point self-sabotaging oneself to do something completely different and then it all messes up and goes wrong. What's the point of that? That's stupid as well. You've got to take in mind that you're moving on to a new case. All the people from beforehand that were watching regularly, some of them will disperse, but you want to try and maintain and keep the people around. So you do like the same format and style, right? Of course. And yeah, I mean, some things might have changed, like not as much editing, but that's kind of like down to the copyright issues as well as efficiency as well. Because you've got these like really back-to-back important points. You can't spend too much time editing. And speaking of editing, I will say one thing. Whilst you might have Mr. X complaining at this, complaining at that, and then other people doing little live streams and panels, there's a difference with my videos compared to most other people. I mean, Lance Kelly seems to do video edits, okay? But we're talking about actual video editing, whether it be visually, whether it be the picture-in-picture mode, the add-ons on screen, or the little clips, the little bits of audio. All of that can take quite a bit of time. I'll put it into perspective. So you might have Stoney that did a 12-hour shift, okay? When it came to in the past when I did an edited video, it took me 3 days consecutively working 12 hours straight non-stop just to do a 27-minute video edit. You might wonder why. Well, one, it was one of my first times going in deep doing that stuff. Two, because I was sourcing it out from YouTube, which isn't as easy as if you were on a free stock footage website, but I didn't know about it at the time. The other reasons being I wanted it perfect, right? When I was talking about from word to word, from sentence to sentence, I wanted it to connect with the actual video. I wanted the video to be as relevant, as sharp as possible. I needed actual stock footage to actually resemble and represent that person exactly how they looked almost. That's how sharp, that's how focused, that's how locked on I was, and eventually managed it, right? But it was rough, okay? And then other times, I did one video edit, it took me 15 hours straight, okay? And this is all whilst working, editing on a phone, a small phone, and yet this is what it can do. That's what's positive, that's what's good. So if you're doing a live stream, okay, an actual live stream, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on Twitch, whether it be on a different platform, okay, it has its own uniqueness to it. You might feel more connected, you might feel more in tuned, it might feel more relevant, kind of like with the Shack Ladies videos. But in terms of the editing part, I mean, the Shack Lady supposedly does edit some clips here and there or retracts some videos to edit out bits and bobs, yeah. But majority of the time when it comes to people doing live streams, it's hit the live button, talk, listen to the other person, talk, back forth, click the live button once again, then it uploads or you've got to upload it, that's it. No editing needed, necessary or required, that's it. What I'm doing is recording a video, carefully structuring it, planning, prepping, preparing it, as well as the bits of research in between, questioning, analysing, comparing, contrasting, finding bits of material from a while ago, trying to find the smallest of extracts or bits of audio for whatever reason, finding little edits in between to complement something, using my memory to remember certain lines and quotes, etc. The lot, non-stop, right? And then once that's done, then it's the editing part. Cut this out, cut this in, add this in, add that out, change the theme, change the tone, change the colour, maybe change the contrast if needed. That's all done. And then on top of all that, which people may just have a default basic bitch profile default thumbnail, then it's the thumbnail part. Trying to make a custom thumbnail for nearly every single video I've done. So for like nearly 208 videos on my channel of the Dylan Rounds case and the coverage, right? There's been almost like a custom thumbnail for each one. You think about it. To put it into perspective, when it came to all that editing, okay, or the lesser part of editing, right, but still editing and still uploading and still creating the thumbnail and all the other bits in between, and the titles and the hashtags and the tags, and doing that repetitive, right? Back then, might have been like 1 or 2, 3 videos a week, 1 video a week. This has been nearly every single day for over 5 months, right? That has never been seen before, at least from my experience, because it's on my channel and I'm doing the videos. So that's very interesting. That it will also be because of material, right? There's more material here in a way, a bit more deeper, a bit more to talk about, of course. But in terms of the stamina, wow, even I'm surprised by it. But yeah, that's where we are with that. And the other thing I want to add in, so this can be directed at Mr. X, Jim Terry, whoever, both at the same time, is they might not think these videos are helpful, that it's not doing much good, it's not solving the case, it's not even keeping the case alive. Very impetuous to think that, but we'll get to that in a second. What I will say to Mr. X and Jim Terry, there's been a handful of people throughout time who watch your videos, who've come over to mine, and they seem to have had a decent time. Some people closer than what you think. Just saying, okay? And when it comes to, I guess, where are we talking roughly? In terms of keeping the case alive, as I've clearly said, keeping the case alive on YouTube. Just like with the Kenny Veach case, you don't cover it. What do you honestly think happens? There's no more updates, right? At least on the YouTube platform, right? There's been spells, there's been periods where it's just gone completely quiet, right? But because my channel, my videos are just keeping either the case alive directly or allowing people to all chat at the same time about their findings and stuff, right? So whether it be the videos itself providing new updates or clearing up misinformation or clearing up confusion, if it isn't even that, if you just want to take everything away and say, oh, this is pointless, that's pointless, because of the length of the video itself and because it's done in the live Premiere format, you could even just treat it as just like a little live chat forum page where you can share your thoughts and ideas, right? i.e. in the chat itself, okay? And that's kind of like another part reason to why some of the videos are longer than usual, because then there's more time for people to talk. Not everyone joins at the same time, right? Some people have joined and then the video's ended and it's been like, oh, that's kind of crap, but you know, is what it is. But yeah, it's just like really, really basic common sense that if I didn't do the videos I do, right, and let's just say you had the likes of Ty Corbin, okay, going out there searching, that's good what he does. If Lance didn't do his videos but he went searching, you see what I'm saying? Mr. X defends Ty Corbin, and although he doesn't get on with Lance Kelly, he acknowledges what Lance has done in a way, going out there searching, etc. They've kept the case alive. That's what I think Mr. X said. Yes, they may have done, but in what format, to what degree, to what audience level? You know what I'm saying? If you've got people going out there searching for Dylan, directly it's helpful in the case, but in terms of coverage, in terms of media coverage, media awareness, in terms of reaching out to the general public who want to know what's going on, nothing's happening there, right? Unless you become a hybrid, which obviously I guess Ty Corbin kind of has done, or what Lance has kind of done in a way with the videos, that's what goes hand in hand with that, right? Both boots on ground, but also the footage itself, so people can get like a view of it. What I'm saying is then, if you just had people simply going out there searching, yeah, it's useful, but it's not keeping the case alive. What keeps the case alive is the awareness, public awareness. That's what's keeping it alive on different platforms, different channels, different, if you want to call it, media outlets, right? Because you think of Montello, right? All kinds of crime, wild stuff going on there. People retelling all those stories from the past. Did it receive media attention and coverage back then? No. So no one ever knew about it. But because there's suddenly awareness here, indirect, people are now hearing about this and now when it's too late. So you see what I'm saying? So if you take away that media presence, right? That coverage isn't exactly there. The case fades away from certain angles, from certain platforms. That's why I specifically worded it as keeping the case alive on YouTube, because not everyone else has the same stamina as me, right? Some people go in too hard. Some people rush on in. Some people burn out too quick. Some people don't have the ability to understand different points of views all at the same time whilst juggling resistance whilst also doing this and that. Like, there's been times in the past where people have advised me and said, you probably should stray away from this because it's causing trouble to the case, it's causing misdirection. And it's like, well, it's all under control. Not only can I handle that or at least try and make sense of it or explain it, debunk it, I'm also covering this as well and looking at this and moving on to that, right? It's so under control just in that basic aspect, okay? And that's what I mean when it all comes to the language part. Maybe what the theme is, the people that do end up having an issue with me is mainly because they are misunderstanding the language. Because let's just do a little quick observation, right? So when it came to Tucker in the past, whoever that was, Tucker suddenly had an issue with me, and that's only because I relayed information on from what Lance said back then about Dylan and Kurt, right? And as I clearly worded it, it wasn't down to what I said, right? But it was what other people said, and I was just simply trying to make sense of it and also share it to others to see what their opinion was. But because of that misunderstanding of language, Tucker got his peanuts in a twist, right? And he just whined on. And in a way, to an extent, the grievances were resolved to an extent, but took some time, took a bit of effort. When it came to Sleeper Cell, back then, misunderstanding, it was resolved in the end, right? The tension stopped, okay? When it's come to Ty Corbin here and now, obviously, whether it be the title of this, whether it be to how I've worded that to do with associations or not associating anymore, back then, it caused some issues with him, but then that was eventually resolved. Once again, language, okay? I'm sure there's probably other examples as well. I mean, the example with Mr. X, I'm not saying it's a direct one, but like a suggestion would be, well, it's possibly because, you put aside the need, the want for this and that, the takeover. Put that aside for now in terms of the understanding, the concept of how the coverage is done about the case on this channel. There's a misunderstanding there, must be for Mr. X, the wording, the tone, the pace, how it's set, the structure, the foundations of this video and all the others, right? There's a misunderstanding, and that's what it is. And through my own experiences, when it comes to other stuff as well, I've nicknamed myself Mr. Misunderstood. That's what I'm known as. Sometimes I can be the black sheep of things, but that's just how it is. Now, I can do a sheep voice as well. But, I've got black hair, so I guess that counts. But you get the idea, okay? So I think that'll do there for the drama. As for the Mr. X situation, it will not be the end. We've got a lot of whingy, whiny moaners, of course. Oh well, what a shame. I think what we should do now is get into the YouTube comments just to see if there's anything that needs to be cleared up there, and then move on to the Candice Cooley post. Okay, so these are the comments of the last video. Some maybe questions and so on. We'll just try and answer them as we go along. Patsy Rainwater says, didn't Brenner have a horse? Maybe he had a horse trailer there. Yes, correct. He had a horse, and I think the horse's name was called Briscoe, as mentioned by Indiana. As for the horse box situation, regarding, I guess, the photos and footage, I was unable to see if there was a horse box because it didn't seem to show up. But, if the horse has been taken somewhere, so has the trailer, because the trailer transported the horse. I mean, any of you in the chat, leave your thoughts right now to like what you think. Do you think Brenner had a horse box at some point? Yes, no. Or maybe if you're watching like an interview of Candice Cooley or something, listen in there, or see if you can add in a question there about that as well, right? As for the horse, the breed, the size, the colour of it, I don't really know, but it's not too relevant, you know what I'm saying? I mean, you could say it's a little bit relevant. If the horse is strong and somewhat big, it can sustain Dylan. If it's like a little pony, which it definitely isn't, you probably couldn't put Dylan on it quite the same way. And like for transporting items as well, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, maybe he did have a trailer, but it's no longer there. Do I think it was disposed of? I mean, maybe not. I mean, I don't think people would have been focused as much about the evidence part there if they weren't aware of maybe it being used in somehow the case. You know, if you were completely unaware of it, could have even just simply been washed down, scrubbed, right? I mean, as I've said, people always refer back to Kurt Wadsworth bleaching this, bleaching that. It might be a normal thing, but if he's a little bit focused on being clean or cleaning stuff up, the cleaner, right, they can be quite good at cleaning up crime scenes and evidence, you know what I'm saying? Just one little way of looking at it. But let's just move on to the next comment. Goldie says, Chase is a douche canoe. Never heard of that before. Interesting. Tom Evans says, I got busy on the chat. I'm going to have to go back and watch. Is there a way to give you my email? Tom, all under control. Saw your message elsewhere. It will be resolved, under control. Okay? What else there? Mum Down Under, you and me both have to re-watch because time zones. True. Okay, and there's Joseph as well. Here we go. This is one of the key ones. Mini Me. Thank you for a good live on Dylan. You need to set your evil doors straight on how they treat and attack people in chat. It's very unbecoming for your channel. They're running your viewers off. They're tired of being attacked when they come in to hear about Dylan and get attacked because someone thinks they're so and so or because they support other channels too. Have a good day. We will refer back to that in a second. Mama Down Under says, couldn't agree with you more. If you don't like a creator, don't watch them simple. No need to attack their viewers who may have a differing opinion. Joseph says, I agree. Try to be factual and ethical and respect everyone. Appreciate your comment on this. This is what I was referring to earlier, that these dodgy people come on in, create problems, create issues, but they're not here all the time. It's once in a while when there's more people watching. And as I said, when more people are watching, that's rare to see on my channel. So direct action isn't as necessary because it's not all the time, right? As for people running off, my viewers being ran off, I don't know how long Mini Me has been watching for, so I can't say too much. But what I will say is the people who I've come across, even back to the Kenny Veach case, who have been around for 2 to 3 years that still watch to this day, like Glitter Galaxy, who still participates in the chat. She's not run off, has she? You know what I'm saying? And there'll be a few other people as well. I even just like commenting in the comment section as well. They've not ran off. When it came to Sun Dragon, that German woman, she got away from the place before all the drama kicked in on my channel. And why? What was her reason? She wanted a break from true crime, the case, because I guess it was getting a bit too much, a bit too confusing. You know, trying to process it all gets a bit annoying, a little bit boring, change of scenery, you know. That was her reason. When it came to Julie disappearing, no clue why that happened, and that was before all the drama kicked off. You get what I'm saying, Mini-Me? Ty Corbin, right? When he's come in trying to share his opinions or trying to answer stuff and people have pushed him out. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at one point Ty Corbin was having a go at Mini-Me and then Ty Corbin was pushed out. So, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? But like in a situation like that, someone being pushed out, that's kind of like what Mini-Me is describing here. So if it's happened literally, then it's kind of, you know what I'm saying? But it's just not all the time. And from who I can see that's present, just about all the regulars are still watching, and a fair few of them are still commenting in the live chat, so they've not really been pushed away. I mean, this is the key thing. There's a level of resilience here, right? Some people don't take it all too serious, so they don't break down that quick. When it comes to insults and stuff, people can take it because they've got a certain sense of humour. They might have some dark humour, so that's why they're here. That's why there's no running away, right? Just like how it is with like Jim Terry's channel or Mr. X, where it could be insults, calling people out, back, forth, and the people that are there can take it and give it. So that's how it works for them, you know what I'm saying? Just like how it works here in a different style. It's kind of simple, right? And as I said, this can be more answered towards Mini-Me. If you, Mini-Me, come across some idiots or people you have issues with in the chat, all you have to do is block them, and then you never have to see their face again. And you can still stick around and communicate with the people you get on better with without being reminded of the negative people. Whereas if you, Mini-Me, were in like some kind of like watching a live stream of an interview or like a guest panel, and there was someone you found annoying on the panel, you can't block them because you're just in the chat. There's no feature to block the person. You can mute the video, but if you mute the video, you're kind of missing the whole experience and the whole point of why you're here in the first place. You get what I'm saying? Where it doesn't happen here. It's not like that because it's not following that structure. So that's where it becomes a positive, being a different structure to all the others, right? I mean, it's I can't say too much. It's kind of simple. Anything else? Tired of being attacked? Well, you just block the people. Anything else? Just read out Joseph's. I hate all this infighting with everybody. We need to keep the focus on respect and all the questions pertinent. Why hasn't Wadsworth gone to see Brenner? Everybody needs to stop fighting. Reality is, fighting will, never stop, but it can be eased at times. And whilst everyone can all jump on immediately and say, oh, this is a disaster, oh my God. I think what you need to do is just take a step back, reanalyze, question, and say, is it really that bad compared to all the other channels and true crime communities out there? Is it to the same levels, the same intensity, and most importantly, is it at the same frequency as everywhere else, right? Like, you take Shack Lady's live streams, for example. In recent time, they seem pretty good from what people have said. Like, it's calm, the chat's good, people are on good behaviour. Yeah. Well, that might be because all the troublemakers that were originally over there are now here. You get what I'm saying? So there might be like a little moment where people just move around like a desert island. Whereas if you look back in the past when my chat was considered more cleansed and peaceful, it was chaos on the Shack Ladies live streams where people were shouting. There was all these dodgy comments in the chat and it was like all out of control, going to shit, right? You see what I mean? So maybe it's just this turn now where the trouble starts. But as I said, evidently, and it can be proven if you're around frequently, it's not that bad here. And the people that watch regularly, that's why they're still here, because it's not like that all the time. It only happens once in a while. Indy, what does Indy say? Not buying the hanging story. I don't believe a word out of Kurt Wadsworth's mouth. Fair enough. He's just covering his ass. SL, I assume that means Shack Lady. Shack Lady angers me in the fact she won't take a stance. I usually like her genuinely, but the willy-nilly has got to go, in my opinion. I think what Indie Jen is talking about is the Shack Lady is a bit too sitting on the fence, right? When you might clearly have a knobhead present, followed by another knobhead, she's just kind of like sitting back, letting it happen. But that's not coming from my mouth. I'm just highlighting what Indy is saying. And the reason why I can't go too in deep saying all that stuff myself, because like with the chat here, how you might have tension resistance, but people can be dodgy as the one, and there's not too many restrictions and there's no moderators. If I started having a go or criticising the Shag Lady, then I would be described as a hypocrite, because look at me, aren't I sitting back? Aren't I allowing this in the chat and this and that? You know what I'm saying? So I do know like what can be said and what can't be said, right? Anything else? Still remember that time and that one person. I don't know who it was now. It wasn't the, what was it, Grateful Nomad. It wasn't that person, but the kind of like came in a package when Grateful Nomad showed up. They were okay, but the other person, what was it called? Easy 40, Easy something, one of the followers of Jim Terry's panel. And because at that time when that Easy 40 came in and Weedleby came in for the first time ever on my channel at the same time, there was like the fake impersonation account of Weedleby, so then that indirectly got Weedleby to become a member on my channel, which was kind of interesting. Wasn't planned, but it was interesting. And then as for Easy 40 or Easy 90, he was like, no, I ain't going to become a member of this channel just to prove my point. So you could say there's a bit of an attitude already forming, but then again, people with a certain attitude might relate to people that have a similar attitude. You know, you come across them, you know, you kind of group them together. But I remember that Easy 90 guy, and he said like, oh, you know, you better block this fake impersonation account of me, because if not, I'm going to come after you. Wow. I mean, it was resolved, yes, on that occasion. But you see, on that one occasion, right, block that impersonation account, right? But never again. Why? I'm not going to be forced to do something. I'm not going to be threatened to do something, okay? There's like experimentations, right, with time. Analyse this behaviour, that reaction, this and that. I think the best solution, okay. Treat a patient as if they've got cancer, right? Because they are cancer, right? Yeah, there we go, locked in. So, that person saying, oh, yeah, you don't do this, I'm going to come after you or come after your channel. And it's like, oh, come on. That sounds like something Mr. X would say. Oh, maybe it's already happened, I don't know. But any responses? Not much. Ellen, replying to Michelle C. You cannot see Dylan's farm from Montello. Pilot Mountain stands in the way. That's true. Ellen Berg, shout out to Ellen. That's very good of her. Weedleby. This was, I think, answering my question in the video. Jim Terry surfs Facebook groups of missing people for work. He said he contacted the mom and dad to begin with, and neither of them would give him the time of day. The grandparents did. Okay. Louise says Jim was ringing Justin and Candice not long ago, wanting to speak to them. Okay. I mean, this is the thing. I don't know how long Jim Terry has been around, at least on YouTube. I think I just randomly saw one video pop up in recent time from the Zav girl where she was having Jim Terry like interview panel from a year ago, which is interesting. I mean, I know people have taken the piss of Jim Terry because of his receding hairline or the fact that he's got a head like Humpty Dumpty. Hair's non-existent, but, you know, you cut that short, put it aside, cut and shoot, might step in, give a hair transplant, I don't know. But I think indirectly, like if you wanted to try and understand the, maybe not mentality, but the body language, right? I don't really need to, because it'll only cause more tension, unnecessary issues. But if you yourself, a viewer, an observer, and you are interested in Jim Terry for experimental reasons or anything else in between, you whether it be on YouTube or maybe elsewhere, there's videos of Jim Terry and interviews, look back at his behaviour then to how he is now. And you'll see a development, right? In the more formal videos and interviews or news channels where they might have talked to him, sounds the same, kind of a certain tone, pace of voice, but maybe not as much, not as exaggerated, right? But once given the platform, his own channel, his own show, he can say and do what he likes, so he's a bit more free and open. But basically, it's going to sound a bit weird, it's kind of like watching the development of, do you call it larvae or something, turning into a butterfly where it spreads its wings and then becomes what it is. That's like how it is with Jim Terry, okay? I'm sure Mr. X might be shedding a little tear there from that emotional comparison, but you get the idea. What is this? Ellen says the horse was taken to Idaho, so there had to be a horse trailer involved. I don't know who transported the horse. Yeah. It's not just Ellen that says this. Other YouTube channels have, and even Candice Cooley has. So whilst we listen to one individual and we can say, well, it's not true, we can't trust that person, we can't trust them. You know, people would have dismissed Ellen Berg and said, oh, you can't trust her. But then if you listened to it from Candice Cooley, you would have said, oh, well, we can't trust her because of how she's gone about things. But if you listen to everyone individually, so there's no researcher effect, there's no like researcher biasness, there's no influence, and listen to separately, and they don't even really know one another when they come out with this stuff, you know, then you can listen to it, right? And the more people that say and tell the same story without any influence or biasness going on in the background, you can believe in it more, right? You know what I'm saying? Whereas I think what's gone wrong within this case, the reason why it's been so back and forth is because different people have come out with different stories. What you've got to ask yourself, has there been some kind of influence effect in between, which has changed points of views? The more people that agree, the more stability, right? I know it can still all be lies. That can happen if everyone's all in agreement, but then that's not natural. And other times maybe people are brainwashed. But if people can independently come up with the same story without knowing one another, without any influences in the background, without any brainwashing, maybe you can establish something. Is it too late for that in the Dylan Rouse case? Maybe not, but it's a bit time consuming, right? And I think the damage is already done. It's okay saying, let's go back over everything. But if people have said their things, certain stuff could be set in stone, right? And I don't quite mean in terms of certain events or stories saying that's a fact, that's set in stone, that's never going to be retracted, but more so the attitudes of people. Battlegrounds have already been drawn with time, allegiances have already been pledged, empires have crumbled and fallen with time, trade deals have been rejected, peace treaties have gone down the drain. So if you tried rejuvenating it all, it just would not work because the damage is already done. So you go for damage limitation. That's moving forwards, limiting, I guess, history repeating on itself, okay? Now, I don't need to do that because I've done my own style since day one. While some people can say it's not been as impactful, just like with boxing compared to MMA, it might drag on a bit more, but it might reach a point of an outcome. You see what I'm saying? You might wonder, what are you talking about? Well, here's the thing. With like Bellator, with UFC, you can get knocked out, taken down, bang, like that. Could be a knee strike, leg kick, elbow, fist, one of those things. Maybe even the shoulder somehow. Does it cause a lot of damage? Well, sometimes it can, yeah. It's a dangerous sport. But you compare it to boxing, where boxing, there's quite a few touches, quite a few rounds. There's not always a knockdown, and sometimes it takes some time. There's a couple of knockdowns, right? Count, get back up, count, repeat, repeat, repeat. Maybe not as much damage in the short term, but in the long term, there is more damage, right? There's more of an impact on the person's health, such as, I guess, dementia stuff. Even football in the past, when it was like I'm not talking about American football, I'm talking about soccer, which in the UK is known as football, okay? You're heading the ball, it was heavier back in the past, a leather ball. A few blows to the head with time over a longer period leads to dementia. right? But it's changed since. So when it comes to this case, right, little jabs and taps at this and that, tapping into this, tapping into that, kind of like what I've done, the style and methods, in the longer term, there might be a positive. And there's always a backup positive that if this doesn't work, that doesn't work, at least awareness was spread, at least the case was kept alive. And in addition, something completely off subject, yet it's helped, would be, whilst covering this and that and making a genuine effort and method to, try and make sense of stuff, it's either helped people distract themselves from other stuff going on in their backgrounds, whatever is happening. So there's been positive there as well. Don't have to get too deep there. But yeah, let's move on. Louise says, I think Black Dove is a really shady person. I don't trust him. He won't show his face ever. Something not right with him. I guess if you was to try and make sense of the person, you could look back and think, when did Black Dove show up and who did he appear around first of all? Okay, maybe that could be one way of beginning to try and understand the situation with him and his presence, his origins. Okay, I know the Shack lady has said, we may have our little connections and feelings and links to Dylan and stuff, and that's why we're here, and that's why some of us are still around. I mean, I'll say it once again, I don't have connections with Dylan, I don't have relations to Dylan, I don't relate, I don't have some kind of emotional understand, like that, like how other people are. I like view it as a missing person case, just like with the Kenny Veach case, trying to clear up the mess whilst maintaining a little bit of balance and whilst trying to keep the case alive. Okay? What's this one? There's been nothing new in the case for months. What is happening with Brenner? He's been in jail for months. No charges have been filed against him. How long can they keep him in jail without charging him? In jail on separate charges, yeah. Joseph says he can get up to 10 years for the gun, and it's being continued again till June. Everybody knows Brenner did this. We just need to find the body. Okay. I mean, this is the thing. Just a little bit abrupt to say there has been nothing new on the case. I'd argue and say there's been developments with time. Maybe the actual stuff isn't exactly new, but it's only just come out recently. You get what I'm saying? Like with time, where we heard about the phone or the gun and the key fob. In terms of the community aspect, new things have come out with time. We used to say, but from like day one of exactly what happened within the first week, you could then say maybe not much has changed since. I mean, just trying to think, whilst it's okay for people to criticise my channel, what you got to ask yourself, where did all of the rumours come from? From all the live streams and interviews. So, if you took what Louise says in mind, that there's not really been anything new on the case for months, okay? And all you had was the Candice Cooley interviews from Doug's channel, Mob Crew Chris coverage, as well as going out there, Ty doing his videos, Lance doing his videos, Scott Natal doing his videos, and then my videos covering maybe hike routes or possible places of interest, theories, but clearly identifying them as theories and only theories at a certain point, okay, as well as specific wording and language. And you eliminated all known interviews and chats and panels. You will lose a great portion of entertainment and stuff, but what you do get rid of is all of the BS and lies and rumours. And then you could say, yeah, but then if you get rid of the live streams and interviews, what do we have to go off from? I'll tell you what, people personally directly reaching out to a individual and saying this and that happened in a more controlled tone. If you have a platform where you can provide people voices, people could say anything, could say anything to fit a certain narrative. That the idea that they can go into a channel, some kind of panel which might be established or popular, they might suddenly lose control and think, oh my God, I can say anything. Oh, this person's responsible, that person's responsible, and then lose the plot and it'll go to shit. And because of the, in a way, level of respect and also being outsiders, just listening into what these people have to say and following a certain procedure, you allow it to happen, it takes control, it takes over with time, and then it's nothing but rumours and BS. So really, if you wanted to look back and say, how could we have prevented this from going to shit? Don't do interviews, don't do panels, don't do call-ins, and just have one-on-one conversations in the background. Natural, calm, relaxed, no rushing about, and then, if possible, publicly covering a video about a specific topic, a specific event, and then stitching it all together with time, okay? That's the method I did in the Kenny Veach case. That's the method some other people did in the Kenny Veach case, and it worked. There was misinformation. There was lies at time, right? It was in a smaller quantity, so it was easier to deal with, acknowledged, but it was controlled up to a certain point, okay? Whereas back then, if there was a live stream, an interview, a call-in, in the Kenny Veach case, even though maybe people wanted it, and all these people came on, these younger audience with their BS stories at times, because that did happen, that was a pattern, and then some other guys in between with the conspiracy theories, it would be a disaster, okay? So what you might see here or previous in the case community is what would have happened in the Kenny Veach case, right? You see what I'm saying? This is important, okay? So if you think about rumours, lies, deception, corruption, bombastic behaviour, idiosyncratic behaviour, right? Patterns, levels, all of that. Did it originate from my channel? No. Did drama eventually follow here? Yes, but that was external from channels which might have originated with the BS and stuff. Not saying that the channels themselves created it, but who they may have let on, that's what it caused, right? So you open the floodgates in whatever way it can lead to, things backfiring. Now, of course, you could slant that and say, well, isn't that what you're doing, Warlike Raf, with your live chat? Well, I'm not letting the floodgates open because it doesn't flood normally, as I said. So that's one counterpoint. The second counterpoint is there are ways to deal and cope with that stuff, right? As I clearly explained several times earlier on in the video, okay? What do we have here? If Dylan accidentally killed himself, why wouldn't his body still be there and 911 be called to emergency services? Dylan never accidentally died or suicide or ran away. He was killed and his body disposed of. Agree? Yeah, new type of person that kills themselves and then gets up to go bury themselves. What insanity. Yeah. I mean, look, this is the thing what I said, and I quickly identified it because I thought, silly me. When I was doing a map analysis previous, okay, and I was saying, is there a possibility that maybe Dylan was taken out, but then maybe Brenner staged it to make it seem like Dylan killed himself? But then I said, well, if it was staged to make it seem like he killed himself, then how did he bury himself if he's dead, right? So I thought, oh yeah, silly me. So that's like what's been worded here. What I would say is, I don't think Dylan did suicide or ran away, but just to answer in a general situation to why wasn't 911 called or emergency services? Like if Aviles, if Chase Venstra are there, why did they not, seek help if Dylan supposedly killed himself somehow? Well, I'd simply say down to shock, panicking, right? It can happen. Whether you wanted the person dead or not, you might have not anticipated it. So you kind of like worry, and you're like thinking, oh shit, I mean, we can call someone, but if we call someone, then they might think it's us. And because of our criminal past history, they probably will think it's us. So really, the best thing what we can do is dispose of Dylan, right? I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying that if it did happen, that's probably how they would have reacted, okay? Hopefully that makes sense. What else? I think this case needs a new eyes and to be looked at from the beginning. Start from scratch, new people on the case, new eyes, interview everybody again, treat it as a new case. Well, maybe it would work with new people coming on in, but what I would say is the people who are still present, the ones that are going to be interviewed or asked questions, there's a bad taste stained in people's mouths. Scars deep running through. Damage has been done, right? Best thing is just damage limitation, as I said. What's this? Aaron's son says, what was the point of this video? Is there a TLDR? I assume this person's from Reddit, the way they've typed that. For this, because really, it just seems like you were droning on and talking gibberish. I mean, you might be right to an extent, or that might have been from a previous video, because we did go to the Punchy Cafe, in which I was reading out some unusual text, which was like, Ping Panamong, Ping Bana, Ping Chilling, Konnichiwa. Yeah, something like that. That kind of is a bit gibberish, but, you know, that was something else. What did I say? Anyway, explaining clearly and deeply the recent talk, the provenance and the likelihood of it. Exactly, straight to the point. Okay? So as I said earlier, you could get a long video which talks about a subject or two. Bit long, maybe, but at least it's just on one thing instead of several. I'm trying to make sense of it all. Arizona Traveller, he's shown up again. He says, that belt I sum, do you even know about Detroit, New York fantasies you have in common, BK Idaho guy? What the hell is Arizona Traveller talking about? Is he saying that I'm unaware that Detroit and New York have some very, very dodgy fantasies and that I have something in common with the BTK killer guy? Bang, torture, kill, strangle victims. What? What are you on about? I'm not BTK. I've got hair. And I don't have a beard. So I don't know what you're on about. You've got a beard, though. Have you? I don't know. Yeah, he kind of has a beard. Wait, he looks more like BTK than I do. What the hell's going on? Wait, hold on. Lol, that was a great spanking of 333. So he has commented on the whipping. So maybe he's being positive. Might just be down to language. So he seems like he's being positive with the whips, okay? Arizona Traveller, do you need the whip? Do you need whipping? Leave a comment down below. Glenda Darlene O'Leary. Oops, shit. I believe he was drugged. Someone said he was asleep on a pool table. I think that's talking about Dylan, I think. Someone said he was asleep on a pool table. So this is an example of a rumour. I mean, providing you word it correctly, it's not that bad. Ellen says, people from Montello have searched. They just don't brag about it. Lucin is quite far from here. Interesting, right? I mean, how many people or how many times have we heard the stories of the Montello people going out there searching? Not that often, but has anyone really questioned it before in a calm way? Maybe not, until now. And so did someone answer. Okay. Oh my God, what's this? Mama Down Under. Regarding the comment about Australia being like Indian reservoir. Right, okay. We don't need to read that. Rebecca Lynn says, where's the trailer Ellen Berg had removed? I don't know what she's talking about there, Rebecca. I don't know what Rebecca's talking about, but if Ellen Berg is watching right now, feel free to respond to this question. Steve Colbert, I cannot spend 2 hours on YouTube watching one post. I'm sorry, it's okay. Steve Colbert is a long-time viewer. He was around during the Kenny Veach case, but of course the Kenny Veach videos were about 20 to maybe an hour long, 20 minutes, 30, 40 minutes on average. So I can understand why he can't stick around for that long, because the videos are longer now. Kind of like give and take. Meg's as well. Just a couple of... Okay. So Meg's is from, I think, New Zealand or Australia, whichever one. So Tasmania, I think. Was that a comic cartoon? Oh, might be getting mixed up with something. Tasmania, I think that's a place. But yeah, Meg's has been around for a while, since the Candice case. Check lady, I know nothing. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And then we've got Miss Fravel. What did she say? If Dylan was alive, walking and talking, I'm sure he knows to call his mother. And since he hasn't, the probability that he was taken away in bags is a big probability. I wonder if his ex-girlfriend and boyfriend knew each other, and did they know the other boy that disappeared, who was a friend of Dylan's. I hope finding out what happened to Dylan will also shed light on his friend too. What, did his friend go missing? We won't go too deep here because it could be a misunderstanding of language. I wonder if they're talking about Aidan Clune, accidentally. And the bit where they say about and boyfriend, I assume they mean male friend. You know, sometimes you can word it differently. Ex-girlfriend, didn't think Dylan had a ex-girlfriend, but then again, Candice Cooley said he did, like, have fun with girls, so I guess some, like, connections there in some way. But saying that, did they know the other boy that disappeared who was a friend of Dylan's? I don't know what that's on about. And finally, Miss Fravel says, who took the horse to Idaho? Someone in comments seemed assured the horse went to Idaho. When was this event? Brenner or one of the frack guys around took the horse, then got into problems on the way back, called and got Dylan to come for help and did something on the way back. Beyond a doubt, someone knew very well to put his belongings in his land. Okay, so we've got some sushi there. Don't know if anyone needs any. I think it's a takeaway place, so you can order it if you want from Deliveroo. I'm not sponsored by them, no. But yeah, that clears up the comments, I guess. Hopefully that answered some people's questions and just set the record straight for some things. What I do want to say now is we're going to move on to just a bit about Candice Cooley, okay? And what I do want to say right now, whether you're still watching, that's good. If you've just joined, okay, what I want to say is what I'm going to show you will be after or maybe during this live stream interview of Candice Cooley on Doug's channel, okay? As you know, the time I'm recording this, it's 5 hours till that interview drops on Doug's channel with Candice Cooley. But when this video is on YouTube as the live premiere, it would have been like 6 hours on from now till then at 21:15. Okay, does that make sense? Think of time zone difference, right? So yes, from the looks of it, it is happening. But what I just want to do just very quickly is look back at the original post by Candice Cooley and then just show you the proof of this interview coming up. Okay, so here we are. This is what it said by Edna Powell buttering the bread. So this was just a question post, I guess. Just add in, Dylan stays on my mind daily. Do you have any new information? Please and thank you. Okay. Candice Cooley responds, take in mind this is 18 hours ago. So it's probably not relevant as of right now, you watching, but I just wanted to refer back to what was said 18 hours ago. Okay? Do not get confused. Candice Cooley says, there are many things moving forward. We just cannot publicly release it at this point. Please understand, all Justin and I want is Dylan home. We will not publicly release anything that will jeopardise that. And then they say, thank you, yeah. I think telling us that things are actually moving forwards for you guys is as good of an update as any. Okay. Continued prayers. Right. So there you go. That's what Candice Cooley originally said. Do we need to analyse it? Not too much. All I'll say is the language and the wording seems very similar to the last couple of posts. We don't want to jeopardise anything. There are things moving forwards because she's showing a little bit of consistency with language used. So I've not really seen much of in the Dylan Brown's case as a whole. I see this as a positive in its own right? And some of you would have catched on with time. Language, wording, keep it somewhat consistent, somewhat accurate, somewhat clear, or just specific types of words if you don't quite know. And if it's frequent and it's consistent, you might be more likely to believe in it, and it might well be the truth. And due to someone like Candice Cooley being a little bit erratic at times in the early stages or mid stages, with her being the way she is now, it's kind of like a contrast. And the longer she keeps it up, I guess the credibility remains or is brought back in a way. You get me? Anyway, let's just move on to the quick acknowledgement with Doug's video. Okay, so here we are. As you can see on No Thanks channel, it says live in 5 hours, 27th of January today, 20:45. Take in mind this is based off UK time. You've got to take that in mind as well. Like right now, if you're watching, it's probably either still on live or it's just been on and you've watched it. Okay, just wanted to say that because there might be people in the chat, and maybe I should have said this earlier on, but you know, I've got to follow a structure to all these videos and stuff. But you know, people might have a go and say, yeah, but you're not aware of this, you're not aware of that, why are you not covering this, why are you not talking about this or talking about that? It's like, well, because it's not on yet as of the time of me recording. Okay, I can do a video tomorrow or a day later looking into it, figuring out what it's about, but I don't want to go too deep now when we're going to find out anyway tonight, or at least tonight for me based off the time zone. Okay, so I think that rounds that up, no pun intended. I think we'll leave it there with everything we've talked about, because I'm sure there'll be more to talk about next time with this Candice Cooley interview. I've not had time to watch it yet because of, you know, time and time zone difference, but I'll try my best to look at it tomorrow, depending what it's about and the length, make notes if possible, and then analyse if necessary, okay? And see where it goes from there. And yeah, if you've got any additional comments, any additional points, add anything in between, leave a comment down below, and I guess time will tell, see what happens next. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye and good night for now.